Welcome back to the Traveling Notary. Today, we're traveling back to Victorian England to talk about Charles Dickens and the...
What are you doing here?
Oh, hello. I'm filling in. It's the holidays. I assumed you were doing something whimsical?
This is my show.
Yes, but Dickens loved whimsy and ghosts and orphans and emotionally devastating endings. I felt I fit the vibe.
This is an episode about Dickensian notaries.
Exactly! I'm very serious about Victorian paperwork.
You're a puppet.
And yet, legally present.
There is absolutely no room for puppets in an episode about London, England in the Victorian era.
Not even a little room. I could hold a quill. I could gasp dramatically at a contract. I could say, bah humbug, when someone forgets their ID.
No.
What if I portray the emotional toll of unnotarized documents?
Still, no.
Fine. But for the record, Dickens would have loved me.
He still respected legal professionals. So.
I'll just see myself out.
Thank you.
If anybody needs me, I'll be notarizing Christmas wishes.
Sorry about that. Welcome back to the Traveling Notary, the series where we explore how notaries have shaped history, culture, and sometimes stories we think we already knew. Today we're trading highlighters for hearthlight, signatures for snowfall, documentation for something a little more Victorian. Because in this holiday special, we're stepping into the world of Charles Dickens, a world full of ghosts and misers and orphans, and if you look closely, notaries. Yes, notaries. Dickens understood something very important. Every great moral story needs the paperwork. So today I have 3 wintry tales for you, each one showing how notaries lived in Dickens' world. Let's begin where Dickens himself began, inside the legal world. Before Charles Dickens was a novelist, he worked as a clerk in a solicitor's office. Later, he became a court reporter, where he listened, observed, and memorized the rhythms of legal life, which meant he spent his early career surrounded by documents and the professionals that handled them, including notaries public. In 19th century England, notaries were highly specialized legal officers. They authenticated documents for international trade, verified identities, handled powers of attorney, and ensured that the paperwork crossing the border actually meant something. Dickens didn't just know of notaries, he knew how they spoke and how they worked, and how much trouble would follow them if paperwork was mishandled. That's why notaries appear in several of his stories. Because in Dickens's world, nothing falls apart faster than bad paperwork. Now let's talk about one of Dickens's most emotionally charged novels, The Old Curiosity Shop. The novel centers little Nell Trent, a virtuous young orphan and her doting grandfather, who runs the titular shop of odds and ends. Nell's grandfather is obsessed with protecting her future, so he gambles on cards, but his luck runs out. Big time. He borrows heavily from the grim money lender Daniel Quilp, a grotesque villain who instantly pounces on every mistake the old man makes. Quilp eventually seizes the shop, evicting Nell and her grandfather, setting them on a desperate, hunger-ridden trek through the countryside, pursued by danger and dashed hopes. So, where does the notary come in? A notary character, Mr. Witherden, is a minor figure, but he has a very telling presence in the story. When Kit Nubbles, a loyal and honest assistant who loves Nell like family, gets a job in the firm where Mr. Witherden's men work, we see the ripple effect of proper legal institutions amid the chaos. Mr. Witherden's notary office provides lawful employment for people caught in Dickens's swirling tide of debt and desperation, stands in contrast to characters like Quilp and the Brass siblings, whose legal work is riddled with manipulation and coercion. In a story where one man's gambling destroys the family, notaries represent the orderly side of law and society. Here's the document lesson we can take from this. The Dickensian notary presence shows how the rule of law underpins every struggle for redemption, inheritance, and dignity in Victorian England, and stands in bleak contrast to the tragedy of the story of Little Nell. Now let's talk about A Christmas Carol, a beloved holiday classic. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, I'm sure you've heard the story of the miserly curmudgeon Scrooge and how his horrid greed leads a slew of ghosts to try and scare him straight. This story has been adapted a ton of times. We've got books, movies, TV, plays. We get a new one every single year. But I have to say my favorite is The Muppets Christmas Carol. It is so good because Michael Caine is so serious as Scrooge, and he's surrounded by all these adorable puppet characters. I mean, it's... Oh no.
You rang?
No.
Yes, you did. You said there wasn't any place for puppets here. But you were wrong, weren't you?
This is still a show about notaries.
And The Muppet Christmas Carol is one of the most legally sound adaptations. Kermit keeps meticulous books.
This is not the time or the place for your silliness.
Or is this exactly the time? I give you pizzazz. I give you excitement.
No, I need order and professionalism.
I can be orderly and professional.
Okay, fine. But you have to follow my lead.
Ah, you got it, boss.
Where were we? Yeah, A Christmas Carol. There's no named notary in the story, but let's be clear. Ebenezer Scrooge definitely knew one. Scrooge was a money lender. He dealt in loans, property, debts, and binding agreements.
Which meant somewhere in Dickens' London, there was a notary who saw Scrooge's name on an appointment book and sighed.
Right, because Scrooge is absolutely the kind of client who shows up on Christmas Eve.
Sir, the office is closing.
To what purpose?
It's Christmas.
Bah, humbug. I need my signature notarized. Document truth. Some clients do not observe holidays.
Not then, not now.
A Christmas Carol is a story about obligation, financial, moral, and human, and notaries are at the intersection of all those things. Scrooge's redemption is both spiritual and practical, because after all the ghosts leave, someone still has to make sure that all those promises he made are
properly documented.
So today we walk through Dickens's world, a place where contracts carry consequences, and honesty mattered.
And where notaries kept the machinery of society running.
We saw how Dickens understood the profession because he lived alongside it.
We met Mr. Witherden, the notary who represented fairness in a broken world.
And we imagined the notary who survived Scrooge well before the spirit of Christmas past showed up. Because in Dickens's stories, before redemption, before justice, and before happily ever after,
there is always paperwork.
And someone needs to witness it. So as this year comes to a close, thank you. Thanks for joining us on this special holiday edition of the Traveling Notary. Wishing you a warm holiday season and a bright new year, and documents that are clear, honest, and properly notarized. Until next time, remember, even in a world with ghosts and miracles,
a good signature still matters.
I'm the Traveling Notary, signing off. We'll see you next time.